Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to have some Division 20 online ranked gameplay in the background. I'm going to be using the Italian stallion Marvin Vettori coming up against the Jared Cannonier, and the opponent I'm playing against, we have a 2-1 record, so I'm up 2-1, also in Division 20, so it should be a good fight. And this video is just going to be on in the background because I'm going to be addressing what the title of the video is, as a subscriber requested, and it's the topic of how to manage and control rounds. So you'll see in the bottom left there will be a diagram, and I don't know how clear that will be on a phone or a tablet if you're watching, but on a laptop it should be more clear. I will tweet this image as the video goes live, so make sure to check out my Twitter if you want a more in-depth look at it. But I will be talking over everything that is in the image, and as you can see there's 5 sort of pillars that I think go into maintaining and controlling rounds, and they would be as follows. So the first one's going to be stamina management, knockdowns and stuns, significant strikes, control time, and distance management. So to begin with, let's talk about stamina management, which I think is the most important attribute into controlling rounds. And the reason I say this is because stamina ultimately helps you recover, helps you move around the cage, allows you to throw more combinations, and overall, if you have more stamina than your opponent, you will tend to do better in the fight for various reasons. I mean, if it goes to the ground, you'll have more room to play with. Obviously, if they have less stamina, you can catch them in a submission, and there's many routes for that. But to break down the stamina management portion of this video, the first point I'd like to talk about is strike selection, and this is critical, and I think this is the difference between a very high skilled player and the average player that, say, I don't know, like Division 12, Division 13. A lot of it comes down to strike selection. So you should only be throwing if you know the punches or kicks, knees or elbows. So you should only be throwing if you know the strike is going to land, because every strike you throw that is missed is going to tax and deplete your stamina even more. So you need to be very careful and very wary of what you're going to throw, and strike accuracy is the other thing I was going to say. So they go hand in hand. So what strikes you throw, for instance, if you're going to work the body, if you're going to work the legs, and what range you're throwing them in, ties in with the strike accuracy. So you need to be as accurate as possible, because therefore you won't be wasting out on stamina. And then takedowns / submission attempts. This is another crucial one, because if you're using a wrestler, like I am in the video right now, you've got to be careful when you shoot for takedowns, because if you're shooting for takedowns with low stamina and your opponent denies it, he's going to get you in an advantageous position and could easily finish the fight. And not only that, but if you're shooting for takedowns non-stop and you're not actually getting any success, then you are going to just drain your stamina. So it's very important to only shoot takedowns when you feel like you're in a good position to do so. I guess sometimes you have to do it because you're backed up and you need to do it just to save face and get through the round. But often or not, I come up against a lot of opponents that they're just shooting takedowns non-stop, and they're not landing, they're not getting any of them, and their stamina is just draining. So because they keep persistently going for it, it ends up hurting them a lot more than it does me. The next portion is knockdown / stuns. Now, this is the highest priority to the judges, is knockdowns, and if it's not then knockdowns, it's stuns. So if you get a knockdown and your opponent doesn't, no matter what happens, because the judges are based on damage done, you've pretty much guaranteed won that round. So if you're in a round in which your opponent's knocked you down and you don't think you've got the facilities to do that back, do not overcommit yourself and risk getting knocked down again. Instead, pick away at your opponent, work the ground. Obviously, it's very contextual, it depends what fighters you're using, so please take this as like, it's a generalization. I don't know what fighters, it all depends on the context. But if your opponent has knocked you down, it's more likely that they are going to win that round, no matter what you do after that. Unless you get another knockdown to match it, then it will come down to probably significant strikes or stuns. But yeah, knockdowns and stuns are the highest priority for the judges. That's why you'll see in a lot of fights that if someone's taken you to the ground and built up a good amount of control time, but you've landed a knockdown or a stun or more significant strikes, then you'll get scored and put ahead on the judges' scorecard, and that ties straight into significant strikes. So It's scored highly on the judges' cards, so if there's no knockdowns, if there's no stuns, then significant strikes can really win you the fight. And the example I just gave of, say you have an opponent on top of you, this controls you for 3 minutes, but thrown way less significant strikes, ultimately you're going to end up winning the round between at least 2 of the judges 1 and 3, because judge 2 favours the grappling element. So on 2 judges there, you're definitely going to end up winning that round. So significant strikes play a crucial part in winning fights, because not only do they look good on the judges' scorecards, but it also builds up to knockdowns and stuns. The next aspect is control time. Now, control time is based on obviously how long you control your opponent, how long you're in a dominant position for, and this can be based off takedown attempts. Obviously you take them down, hold on to them, and you can win rounds like this. Obviously, if you're having a pretty close round, say you're both throwing relatively the same amount of significant strikes, you both have done a similar amount of damage, if you take your opponent to the ground, rack up some control time, land a little bit of ground and pound, then it could easily win that round for you. Submission attempts obviously get you control time, and this is something that I've utilised a lot even off the bottom. So if I'm having a close round and my opponent takes me down, because they're in the same thought process of, okay, I'm going to take him down, secure the round, rack up some control time. If you then opt to go for a submission off your back, you will actually gain the control time because you're controlling your opponent during that submission. So you can sort of play like a reverse card there, an Uno reverse card, and actually build up control time for yourself. And in the clinch, you get a lot of clinch spammers, not as much now, I don't really come up against them often, but if someone keeps you in the clinch, that is control time. You can clinch, take them towards the fence, you know, disengage, clinch towards the fence, clinch in the middle, drive them to the fence, land knees, land elbows, and they'll count as significant strikes. And little things like that will build up in the judges' favour, and it's just an easy way of controlling the round. So control time can be used effectively, but it does need to be partnered up with significant strikes, because it doesn't matter, you can get as much control time as you want. If you're not getting the significant strikes and your opponent's outdoing you in that aspect, they will end up winning that round. The next one will be distance management. So in terms of distance management, the main aspect of it is you control the range, you dictate how the fight is being played out. And if you're using a kickboxer, you're going to want to be in kickboxing range. If you're using a boxer, you want to be a boxing range. It's fairly self-explanatory. Like in this matchup here, Jared Cannonier, obviously having great leg kicks, is going to be looking to utilize them in a kickboxing manner. Me using Vettori as a wrestler, I need to be in that boxing range, because then I can clinch, I can look for takedowns, and I can just look to work on the inside, which is where I'll have the most route to success. It's the best pathway for success. Another is to avoid takedowns. Now, if you use distance management correctly, there'll be a lot of times where your opponent shoots for a takedown, but because you're out of the way, your opponent won't actually be able to land a takedown. And it's a way of denying a takedown without it actually having to do anything, so you don't actually have to put any inputs in. If you just back away in a good amount of time or keep a good distance between yourself, not only does it make it easier to deny the takedown because you can see it coming from a mile away, but sometimes you won't even have to put the input in. And therefore, you know, it just saves you doing that. Your opponent loses stamina, and then you can look to, you know, either keep moving or move forwards. The other is damage mitigation. So what I mean by this is, because you're controlling the distance in where the fight's taken place, you can mitigate the damage you're receiving, so you can pick and choose when to receive damage. So you can back away if you're hurt and look to regroup, or you can push forwards. You're really controlling the fight without having to actually do much. You're just maintaining the distance that you want. And by distance management, obviously I don't mean that you run away the whole time, but you just pick and choose when you want to advance and when you don't want to advance. It's really as simple as that, and just that small utilization can really improve your game and help you control rounds. And it's something that I've looked to utilize, and it's helped me a lot. But they're the five aspects I think that you need in order to manage and control rounds. Now, you can pick just one aspect from this and use it to win a round. So you don't need to use all 5 in order to win rounds. However, if you use all 5, there's more likely or not you will guaranteed win. that round and every round after that, because if your stamina management's on point, if you're getting knockdowns, if you're getting significant strikes, if your distance management's right, and you're racking up control time, if all those 5 things are happening in one round, there is a very slim chance you're going to lose that round. So this for me is how I like to approach my fights, because it's a very balanced way. This is mixed martial arts in an essence. It's mixing it up, it's getting control time through wrestling or the clinch, landing significant strikes, managing distance, choosing when to come in and come out, and then, you know, obviously getting the knockdowns and stuns, picking and choosing when to look for submission attempts. All these factors go into having a successful fight, and if you utilize them correctly, I guarantee if you use all 5, you will definitely win that round. But if you focus on it, if you're playing the long haul, stamina management can definitely win you a 5-round fight. Obviously in a 3-round fight it's slightly different, but if you want to be patient like I am in the video right now and utilize stamina management, it can definitely give you a huge advantage. Because if you look at the video right now, I'm not really going for too many significant strikes. I've mixed in takedown attempts here and there. Jesus, I was lucky I didn't get knocked out. As you can see, now my opponent's panic and taking me down. But the stamina difference is absolutely insane between myself and my opponent. Like, this is the 4th round and my stamina is on point, and this can easily win you fights. So all 5 of these aspects can be used solely in order to win / control rounds. So a knockdown / stun, you can land 1 knockdown after your opponent's done a phenomenal job, but if he hasn't knocked you down, you've won that round. Significant strikes, unless your opponent's knocking you down consistently, if you're building up more significant strikes over the course of the round and your opponent isn't, you're going to win that round. Control time, well, this one's a bit more difficult just because significant strikes matter, but say for instance you take your opponent down off the bat and rack up control time, you're going to end up winning that round, and, you know, keep doing that, you're going to end up winning the fight, and through that control time you can look for submission attempts. Distance management, if you're fighting at the range you want, everyone's come up against an opponent that's been really good at maintaining range, and it's incredibly difficult to break them down. It's frustrating, you end up making sloppy mistakes and they end up winning because they're dictating not only the pace of the fight, but they're dictating how it's being played out in terms of what ranges they want it. When they want it to be in boxing range, it's in boxing range. When they want it to be in kickboxing range, it's in kickboxing range. When they want to clinch and look to use knees and elbows, they dictate it. So yeah, I hope this video has been useful in the sense that this is how I personally see how you should manage and control rounds. These are the different variables. Obviously it's very dependent, case by case scenario. It depends who you're using and how confident you are at certain things. But if you're coming into a fight and you know, you're on the same skill level as your opponent and you look to implement this strategy of using all 5, or even just focusing on 1 or 2, because they can be paired very well. Obviously the significant strikes will lead to knockdowns and stuns. Stamina management can be tied in with distance management. Stamina management can be tied in with control time, so they can all interlink. There's various lines you can draw between them and formulate your own game plan in order to win rounds. I just think that if you're using a balanced fighter who's versatile, can do everything, let's say someone like George St. Pierre, if you use all 5 of these in a round, there is no way your opponent is going to win that round. If you're landing more significant strikes, if you're getting a knockdown, if your stamina management's on point, if the distance management's on point, and you're racking up control time as well, there is no way your opponent is going to be able to win that round. So yeah, it's case by case scenario. For instance, you know, if we pick a stand-up fighter like the Jared Cannonier I'm facing here, he could really look to prioritize on distance management, so control the range the fight's fought in and avoid takedowns and avoid the damage, because that's one thing that my opponent hasn't done a good job of. Stamina management is where my opponent's really been let down in this video, because you can see the stamina is just way off between myself and my opponent, and I'm being very patient because I don't want to overextend and get hurt with the power, because I respect the power from Jared Cannonier. So distance management for my opponent would have been useful, and the main thing is stamina management. So you can see that without stamina management, everything else crumbles, because it doesn't matter how many knockdowns you get in the first, second or third. if it comes to the 4th and 5th, you don't have stamina, you're going to get finished. So I do think stamina management is the most important attribute in order to win rounds, especially over a 5-round fight. Knockdowns and stuns obviously scored the most highly, but yeah, this is just my little diagram on how to manage and control rounds. Hopefully you found this useful. Thank you to the subscriber that requested me to make this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more UFC 4 content, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you.